A very warm welcome to our participants joining us today for the RLU series number 2, 2026. Our topic today is the role of AI in health education, practice and research, organized by the IIUM Library in collaboration with Elsevier and AdConnect. I am Ni Asmahani binti Muhammad Nawawi, Senior Library Assistant, and I will be the MC for today. This online session aims to equip participants with a deeper understanding of how AI can be integrated into healthcare setting to enhance clinical decision making, improve patient outcomes, and support research activities. It will highlight current application of AI, including data analysis and generative AI tools, while also addressing key challenges and ethical considerations in clinical environments. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Ms. Stephanie Chan. She is a seasoned professional in over 50 years of experience in the global pharmaceutical, life science, and healthcare industry. She has held significant roles at Clarivate, focusing on digital solutions for life science and healthcare, and has led business development for pharmaceuticals companies in the APAC and MENA regions. Currently, she is the Customer Success Manager for Southeast Asia at Elsevier, where she works in healthcare providers, medical associations, and universities to advance medical education and patient outcomes through technology. Her academic backgrounds include a Master of Science in Pharmaceutical Technology from University Science Malaysia and a bachelor's degree in biology from University Putra Malaysia. These qualifications support her efforts in promoting productive analytics and technology adoption in healthcare. So without further ado, I pass to Ms. Stephanie to lead today's session. Over to you, Ms. Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Cik Hasmahani, and good morning, everybody. Actually, it's not even 12 yet. Selamat pagi semua. So my name is Stephanie, as Cik Hasmahani has kindly introduced. I'm the Customer Success Manager for Elsevier Health across Southeast Asia. Some of you might be very familiar with Elsevier since we are a publishing company that has a very, very strong history in publication in terms of medical reference textbooks as well as journals. Titles that you may be familiar with would be our Netters, our Gray's Anatomy, journals like the Lancet Infectious Diseases, etc. So these are probably titles that you have come across from your medical student days up to the time that you are now doing research or practicing as a practicing clinician. So in today's session, we would like to talk a little bit about the role of AI in health and healthcare as well. And I would like to share a little bit in terms of the different applications for AI within a clinical setting as well as in a research setting as well. I hope that this will be a bit more interactive. If you do have any questions, feel free to come off mute to give me your feedback or ask your questions. If any point during the presentation, you would like to respond to something, feel free to use the react buttons. I'm happy to see some interaction from everyone. So without further ado, let me share my screen and then we will go through today's presentation. 1 second, let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can I just get a quick reaction, maybe a thumbs up or an okay or some sort of reaction if you're seeing my screen right now? Perfect, thank you so much, Amira. Thank you, everyone. Perfect, so as I said, today's session, or at least today's topic, we'll be talking a little bit about AI in health practice as well as research as well. Okay, let me go to the next slide. So one of the first things that I would like to ask today's audience is, what comes to your mind when you hear the term artificial intelligence or AI? So if you would like to drop your answers in the chat, that's fine as well. If you want to come off mute, that's also perfectly comfortable to do so. While I wait for some of your responses, okay, perfect. Dr. Nurul Ain, I believe, is saying Gemini, ChatGPT. These are names that we are very, very familiar with, right? They are large language models that have come up at least in the last couple of years. That have is basically on everybody's radar right now. So those are some of the AI tools that have been available here. Also wanted to share a little bit about one of the workshops that I did in Thailand recently in Chulalongkorn University. And when I asked this question, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when the term AI, artificial intelligence, is mentioned? One of the professors, yes, thank you, Hafiz, LLM, machine learning, one of the professors that participated in the workshop actually said untrustable. And the reason for that is that he had tried a number of these large language models, so like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and he found that he was able to train the model to surface answers that were inaccurate. So that's why he was saying he doesn't trust AI. On the flip side, when I talk to some lecturers, some faculty members, or even some clinicians in, let's say, Europe, US, or even places like Singapore, for example, they have a higher trust when it comes to AI because, in a way, they go into it with a conscious mind that whatever information that I'm getting, whatever response I am surfacing from here, I have to critically think whether this is accurate information or updated information as well. So when it comes to the term artificial intelligence or AI, I wonder if you recognize this sort of like handsome gentleman that we see on the screen right now. And this gentleman, in 1950, in the publication Computing Machinery and Intelligence, he asked one question: can machines think? Now, some of you may recognize this gentleman. His name is actually Professor Alan Turing. So nowadays, we also hear certain terms like the Turing test, right? So one question that he posited in 1950, back in 1950, he asked, can machines think? And if we think about it, it was around this time that computers started to become more accessible to people, right? It wasn't anymore where you had one entire room that you have to set aside for a computer, right? 1950, people started to be able to use computers, whether it is at the office, whether it's at home. It became more accessible to a lot of people. So the next question is, of course, with the advancements of technology, can machines think? And this brought about the question of what is artificial intelligence. Now, different institutions have different definitions for the term artificial intelligence. McKinsey and Company defines AI as a machine's ability to perform the cognitive functions we usually associate with human minds. IBM defines it as leveraging computers and machines to mimic problem-solving and decision-making capabilities of the human mind. Now, I do want to highlight that even in this day and age, today itself, there is no one definitive definition for artificial intelligence. The definition changes slightly from institution to institution, from even industry to industry. So there is no one exact definition that everybody has agreed on for the term artificial intelligence. However, most people would agree that there is a broad definition, and this is the broad definition of AI. It usually refers to the simulation of human intelligence. So it doesn't replace, but it tries to mimic human intelligence using machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions. The term may also be applied to any machines that exhibit traits associated with the human mind, such as learning and problem solving. And we are seeing a lot of work happening here, especially when it comes to deep learning, natural language processing, for example, and also a lot of AI tools being used to crunch data, right? Last time we used to have things like SPSS or student t-test, all these analytical tools, but now we're trying to make it more efficient, we're trying to make it more accurate and more user-friendly as well, in terms of problem solving and data crunching specifically. Now, if you were to type into Google, what are the technologies that are considered AI, artificial intelligence? You see here that it's a very, very wide and very varied industries are available. You see, you have speech recognition, you have natural language processing, you have chatbots that everybody is very familiar with. You know, every time I try to book a flight on AirAsia, for example, and then they reschedule my flight and they tell me, oh, Stephanie, you need to, either accept it or, ask for a refund. All of us talk to chatbots when it comes to customer service these days, right? So we're very, very familiar with that. We also have biometrics, we have AI in healthcare, we even have things related to AI in agriculture as well. We are seeing a boom in the use of AI so that when you have a very big field planting, for example, the sensors, the drones are able to tell the farmer which section requires more fertilizer, less fertilizer. So AI is being utilized in a lot of different applications, not only in healthcare, right? But however, today we will be focusing on the role of AI in healthcare itself. Now, there are a lot of advantages when it comes to artificial intelligence. We touched on some of them just now when I was giving a few examples. One of the few things that AI has been found to be really, really useful is to reduce human errors, right? So a lot of times being human, we become flawed, right? To err is to human is one of the well-known sayings that we usually use. As human beings, we are flawed. Whenever we try to, we try to, especially in research, in healthcare as well, we try to make the best decisions for our patients using trusted, reliable information. But there will be times when human error comes into play. Sorry, is there a question?
Di 10 ringgit. 10 ringgit.
Sorry, I don't believe there was a question. Somebody probably came off mute. But that's one thing that machines, right? Machines like AI technologies as well are able to reduce those human errors that we as humans always face. Okay. Certain things as well, 24/7 availability. Unlike humans, we have families that we have to, cook for, we have to rest. Of course, we have to sleep, we have to eat. Machines don't need that. Machines can go 24/7 working as long as it's plugged in. It can perform at that peak level without having to rest at all. Okay? There's also certain things like increase in productivity and quality in production. And that ability to work at that high level of peak performance with minimal errors, practically zero errors, that helps the human. The AI is a supporting tool that will help the human to make decisions faster as well. So a lot of times we think about AI as a supporting tool, as a complementary and supplementary tool, rather than something that would actually replace, especially in the field of health and medicine. Okay, this allows you also in terms of helping in repetitive jobs. So one thing I know after speaking to a lot of clinicians is that one thing that they would really like AI to help them with is in terms of administrative work, right? Especially if you're a practicing clinician, every time you have to fill in the patient chart or the patient information, you wish that there was, you could dictate that and somebody could take that down, right? That would save so much time in terms of administrative work. So we do see a lot of advantages of having AI when it comes to assisting and supporting people in repetitive work, administrative work, things that doesn't really require critical thinking in a sense, right? However, we also see that there are disadvantages when it comes to artificial intelligence. Sometimes there is a dependency on machines, right? And this, I think, is one of the questions that we are sort of trying to come to terms with, right? With the newer generation of students, they were exposed to these technologies at a very young age. It's something that they've grown up with. So it's something that they trust in a way. We see the way that they use ChatGPT, Gemini, instead of referencing Goldman Cecil, for example, for the chapter of liver cirrhosis, very likely a student will type into ChatGPT, explain liver cirrhosis to me, and they will get, that paragraph of information, and they trust that information in a sense because it's something that they have grown up with, that there's something that they're comfortable with. However, a lot of times, and we mentioned this as well when it comes to AI tools, is the trustability aspect of it, right? Where is this information coming from? It's very different to read a text from a chapter in a medical reference book like Goldman Cecil versus getting that information from a chatbot or a large language model where potentially they don't reference the information. Because one thing as well, a lot of AI tools, especially free resources, they are gathering information from the internet. So one thing, it could be inaccurate information because as we know, there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation available online. There is also the possibility of the responses being generated from outdated sources. So it's very important, especially with the students these days, that we bring that awareness to them, that yes, there are tools to help you to be more efficient, to help your learning. However, you do have to ensure that you develop your critical thinking skills. It's very important not to just accept the information as it is, right? You always need to use that critical thinking because later on, when you become a practicing physician, every patient is different. You cannot approach every patient with the same type of decision-making tree. You cannot make the use of the same algorithm for every single patient. So that's the reason why they actually have to use critical thinking even when using these tools. But we do see that there's a dependency currently and a trust in that sense. In terms of development of AI tools, yes, nowadays you can even try to build your own AI chatbot with some available resources. However, always at the forefront of the technology, the front runners of the technology are always the mega companies, the mega tech companies like Meta, for example, like Apple. And that's because there is a high cost involved when it comes to creating these tools. After that, they can, of course, make a cost-effective version or a light version, which laymen can use. However, at the very front, because of the cost of research and development related to this, it is always these large tech companies that are building these technologies and tools for us to use. Now, one thing we have also seen with a lot of large language models, for example, always comes into the conversation when we talk about ChatGPT or Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, is the susceptibility to bias and error and hallucinations as well. Remember that professor I mentioned in Thailand that said he couldn't trust AI tools because he managed to train the AI tool to provide inaccurate information after adjusting his prompts. And we've seen it takes maybe about 3 to 4 prompts to be able to sort of change the behavior of the model. So there is a high chance of, I would say, in a way, misuse when it comes to AI tools. And we see this in terms of bias and hallucinations when it comes to a lot of the tools out there. So that's something that we have to be a bit careful about. Now, the last two at the bottom, ethics and sensitivity and emotions and empathy. These are things that we really, really use as human beings, and especially in the aspect of healthcare. Now, you can always ask a machine, an AI tool, what is the gold standard treatment for, let's say, leukemia in a pediatric patient? And it's going to give you, based on evidence and based on reliable and trusted information, clinical trials, guidelines, it will give you the best practice, right? The gold standard evidence-based practice. However, as clinicians, a lot of time, you also have to consider the aspect of your patient. What is their social condition like? If, let's say, the gold standard for treatment is let's say, chemotherapy that requires 10,000 ringgit per treatment, and you are talking to a family who earns 5,000 a month, for example, that's not going to be a very, it's not going to be a good fit in terms of how what treatment would be suitable for them, right? A machine will not take into that consideration of the social aspect of that patient. As a clinician, you would probably have that empathy and that emotion related to your patient. Oh, they cannot afford the 10,000 ringgit treatment, so perhaps I would recommend a second line treatment, or I would recommend different alternatives that maybe would be more comfortable or more suitable for this particular patient that I have. So this is one thing that is very lacking when it comes to using machines, AI tools, when it comes to healthcare. It's lacking that human touch, which is very, very important, especially in the aspect of healthcare. I wanted to share a little bit of information from the Elsevier Clinician of the Future report. This is a report that we publish on a yearly basis, where we interview clinicians across the globe in terms of what are the challenges they're facing these days, what do they see in the future of health, and what are the sort of aspirations that they have. And some of the responses that we've gotten so far is that about 1/3 of clinicians worldwide agree that they don't have sufficient time to provide quality care. And the reason for this is you know as well that right now, even in Malaysia, we have an aging population. So we have a lot more patients that need and require medical assistance and medical support. So as a clinician, you will see a lot more patients. And with an aging society as well, and a lot of the chronic diseases that we see in Malaysia, a lot of times the patients that come to you have different comorbidities. So they are coming to you not only with one single medical condition, but they have a lot of different complex cases as well. And that will require you to sort of find information, digest that information, and then contextualize that medical information for that particular patient. So it does take a lot of cognitive burden, and it also requires a lot of time for you to actually look properly into each individual patient case. So what happens with that is that you run out of time, right? You need to see 50 patients in a day. So it's a bit difficult for you to spend 20 to 30 minutes per patient. Most times you spend about 5 to 10 minutes per patient, and a lot of clinicians find that that is insufficient. Now, about 60% of clinicians believe that keeping up with medical advances is challenging. This data is a little bit there hasn't been much update on this data, but there was a study in 2010 that actually measured the rate of medical information that is being updated. And from that study, medical information doubles every 73 days. So that was back in 2010. Imagine now 2026, 16 years later, the rate of medical information flooding clinicians is going to be so much higher. So keeping with advances in technology is very challenging for clinicians these days. And about 30%, one third of clinicians currently are already using AI tools. And one aspect that they're using it is to identify drug interactions. So remember I mentioned that you are probably seeing patients with a lot of different comorbidities. They may already be taking 3 different types of medication. And if you want to prescribe a new medication, you always have to consider adverse reactions as well as drug-drug interactions. And imagine having to read 4 different drug monographs to determine if you can use this first-line therapy or to use an alternative within that same drug class. That takes time as well, right? So imagine if you had an AI tool that you can just ask a question, similar to you picking up a phone and calling the pharmacy department. You know, my patient is on celecoxib, atorvastatin. Can I now start to prescribe pregabalin, for example, to this patient? So imagine if you can shorten that time of reading the drug monographs and referencing the drug-drug interactions into one question, right? So these are where clinicians are finding AI tools helpful. So about 30% are using them in terms of drug-drug interactions. Now, we mentioned quite a lot in terms of, and nowadays as well, whenever you talk about AI, a lot of times people think about the Gen AI tools like the ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, etc. We do have to remember that AI, artificial intelligence itself, has been in healthcare for many, many years. This is not a completely new technology in the space of health. Okay, some of you, I'm not too sure if we have any radiologists in the audience today, but there have been a lot of use of artificial intelligence in imaging, radiology imaging, because there's a lot of use in terms of comparing the medical image, the radiological images from either CT scans, MRI scans, to compare against known disease, the images of known radiological images of disease conditions. So radiologists have had the use of AI quite extensively, even before the Gen AI tools have come in. Surgery as well has been using quite a lot of artificial intelligence to assist with the surgeries of doctors. As you can see from the picture here, it can really assist in terms of surgery, radiological images. I want to also bring your attention to the bottom right picture. This is from a hospital in the US. And what they did was, this is a command center for the hospital. You will see a lot of different dashboards, a lot of different information data there. And this helps them to monitor the patients. So imagine if you have a lot of patients that are being warded, a lot of times they are on their, the different types of monitoring devices. So that can be hooked up, and you can also assess the risk of patients across the hospital from a command center like this, or even have, let's say, sensors at the side of the bed to sort of alert if there's a risk for falls in patient, because risk prevention is a very important thing, especially in hospital settings, right? So there are a lot of these additional tools, not only by individual users, but at an institution level as well, where these tools can be used in health. And it has been in in use for many, many years already. So AI, artificial intelligence, in health is not a new subject. It's not a new condition at all. However, we do see that there's a lot of broad applications in healthcare itself when we talk about AI. So data collection and analysis, we touched a little bit on this previously, right? If you have a large amount of data and you are just one human being going through a lot of data, that's going to take you a lot of time. But if you can use a program where it's going to be able to do that data crunching for you, that is where we see a very, very strong use case for AI. So especially if, let's say, you are doing a research that is related to the patients that you're seeing at the hospital, right? You want to then get the data for analysis from the EHR, for example. That's going to be very, very useful, right? Instead of you having to do it as a human being to collect and collate and then analyze that data itself. Predictive modeling, we've already seen this quite a lot, and that has happened most recently with COVID-19 as well as monkeypox, right? In terms of the spread of any potential pandemic or endemic medical situation. Okay, so machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing as well is used in terms of developing predictive models for prognosis, disease progression, and epidemiology. I saw a question in the chat regarding data privacy and security. I'll definitely touch on that shortly as well. When it comes to personalized medicine, AIs can be used. Remember, we were talking, every patient case is very different. Every patient comes to you with a different combination of medical conditions or even different combinations of medicines that are being prescribed. So this can help you to contextualize patient cases so that you're able to develop personalized treatment plans based on that particular patient, either their medical history, their genetic predispositions, for example, or even the socio-economic factors. Remember that pediatric leukemia case that I was mentioning? So if you had all that information and you could put it into an AI model, it could then find a solution or a response or a suggestion, proposal for you to consider based on different factors as well. We see AI being used in clinical decision support in terms of real-time information and guidance, especially if you want to get latest guidelines information or the most updated clinical trials information, patient outcomes, even the available treatments that are being investigated on a global level. This will help you to make better care decisions for your patients as well. Now, this is a good time for me to touch on that data privacy and security question that I saw in the chat just now. Now, a lot of times, this is why when it comes to AI use, one thing that at Elsevier we try to keep in mind is in terms of the terminology responsible AI. So as with any tool that you use, you have to use it responsibly, right? If that's why a lot of times we don't recommend to put patient information into ChatGPT, for example, or any of the free resource AI tools out there, because one is that you are not sure how they are using this data, right? So if it ingests the data, so you upload your patient information data there, how that is being used is a question mark, because a lot of these companies are not very transparent in how they use the data in terms of surfacing then a response to you. So you have to be a responsible clinician. So in one sense, the responsibility also sits on the person, the user, when they use these tools. So we always recommend ethical and responsible use of AI. Always, if you want to put a patient case, for example, the patient condition, then definitely do not put identifiable information, such as the person's name or their ID number, or anything that can identify the person, right? Use it as an anonymous case. That's still better than having identifiable information. On one hand, that is the responsibility on the part of the end user to be cautious and conscious of how they input the information. There's another part when it comes to the developer itself. So as I said, with a lot of the free resource tools out there like ChatGPT, Claude, these LLM models that are available, they don't inform the users of how the data is being used. And that's a bit of concern, and that's a bit of a conversation that is happening these days as well. At IIUM, you may be familiar or you may be aware that for Elsevier, in addition to clinical key physician, we have clinical key AI now. And we try to use the responsible and ethical AI principles at Elsevier, where we do not digest the information of the patient. We don't use that information to train the model. So we can have a separate conversation on clinical key AI. And this is where, as a developer, we try to be as responsible as much as possible, not to use the patient information for developing our own tools, right? So it is a two-pronged way. There is no one clear answer when it comes to security and data as well as privacy. So on both ends, on the developer end as well as the user end, we have to be a bit careful about how we use the information that we have when we use these AI tools. So I hope that answered the question that was in the chat that I saw just now. So the command center that I mentioned just now in terms of patient monitoring, so alerts, fall alerts, risk prevention, all these things can be used in terms of AI in health. And of course, to improve efficiency as well. As I said, if you had a tool where you can just dictate and it will then fill up your patient chart or your patient information, that would be a very, very helpful tool for clinicians. Okay. We touch a lot on AI, and we also mentioned the generative AI tools. So what is the difference between AI, artificial intelligence, and generative AI? So it's useful to think of AI, traditional AI, as the big umbrella, and generative AI is a subset of that. So traditional AI systems, usually we use it to analyze data, we use it to do predictive models. So basically, you have a set information and a program which is supposed to give you an output based on the query that you put in. And it only has that framework to work with. With generative AI, it goes one step further by using the information and then creating new data similar to the data that it was trained on. And this is where the hallucination and the bias comes in, because it's creating new data again. So it's not only using that set information that you give it, but because it's creating data, there is a risk, or there is a predisposition for the generative AI tools to perhaps make stuff up in a way, right? So that's why generative AI tools, one of the very, very main things that everyone always talks about is hallucination, because its ability to create data that may not be accurate in that sense. Okay. This is what we've been mentioning since the start of the session, right? All the current rage right now is ChatGPT. And because it was one of the first LLM models on the market, as you saw, it was launched just in November of 2022. So we are barely 3 years plus into ChatGPT being available, right? So that's a very, very short time frame. But right now, everybody knows ChatGPT. Everybody uses ChatGPT. So can you imagine the acceleration when it comes to the availability and the technology advancements when it comes to this particular space. Okay, and then in February of 2023, there was ChatGPT Plus, which then more people were able to use. And if you remember, ChatGPT started off even just as text, right? Summarize these texts or put into a table format, such and such and such. Now ChatGPT, you can generate images. So a lot of advancements have been happening in this space. Now, I want to sort of put this question to you, right? We mentioned traditional AI and we mentioned generative AI as being a subset of that. When you think about your Apple iPhone and you have Hey Siri, I hope I didn't sort of trigger your phones to respond when I used those two particular words just now. When you use Siri, do you consider that as AI or Gen AI? I'm going to pause for a couple of seconds. Maybe also take a look at the chat if you want to sort of give me an answer whether you think it's AI or Gen AI. Okay, I see a couple of answers coming in. So May says Gen AI. I see a couple of AIs. I see some Gen AI. So in the interest of time as well, let me just go ahead and give you the answer. With Siri, it is AI. And the reason for that is because Siri doesn't generate new data, right? It's traditionally like if you say, hey Siri, call so and so. So that takes your command or your prompt and then it actions on it because it knows who so and so is in your contact list. Or hey Siri, play this song. And because that's in your playlist or in your iTunes or your Spotify, it's going to play that. So Siri is okay. My Siri actually came up to me. It appeared. So Siri is actually AI because it doesn't generate new data or new information. Okay, let's go to the next one. Alexa and Alexa Plus. This is a little bit trickier because I have two here. So AI or Gen AI? And I'm going to maybe give it like a couple of seconds as well for you guys to put into the chat. Okay, couple of answers have come through. So Alexa is AI. And then Alexa, Amazon updated it with generative AI, and Alexa Plus is AI. So you see how usually technology companies start with the AI version, the traditional AI version first, and then they upgrade it. Yes, Hafiz, perfect answer. Alexa is AI. Alexa Plus is Gen AI. So you see a lot of this shift as well. From traditional AI, they would upgrade it in a way to Alexa Plus. Now, I want to share with you one initiative that is related to health. And this is the SARA model by the WHO. So this is a free and available to use to anybody. You can just jump to the WHO webpage and find Sarah. She's a smart AI resource assistant for health. And the WHO developed Sarah for awareness. So as you know, the WHO, because they also service a lot of like rural, not only the urban areas, right? Rural areas and all. So WHO actually have this model, this AI model, Sarah, where anybody can ask it a medical question as long as you have an internet and you can go to the WHO website. You can ask Sarah, like, what is yellow fever, for example, or what is dengue, or what is malaria? And Sarah would then provide you with that information so that it creates the awareness in terms of what this medical condition is and how it's related to health. So feel free to go and try out Sarah. You can talk to her and she will explain a lot of different things when it comes to health. And this is a campaign and an initiative by the WHO. So what are some of the challenges? And we've touched on this briefly as well for AI in healthcare is that it's the known hallucination behavior of AI. It can cause misinformation and disinformation, especially with generative AI, right? It can propagate misinformation. And again, a lot of the tools out there doesn't provide references, so you're not sure where this information is coming from, whether it's updated information and whether it's trustable and reliable information as well. So these are some of the major issues or challenges that we see for AI in healthcare. Okay, so that was a bit on AI in healthcare practice. The next portion I'd like to touch on about is AI in health research. And in this section, I would like to share a lot of the different AI tools that can help you when you are looking into writing your articles or publishing into journals. That's going to be very helpful for a researcher in the health space. So I am aware that we do have some time, and I've been you've been trying to digest quite a lot of information in the practice section. So shall we take maybe a 5-minute short break? And then we will come back in 5 minutes so that you can be a little bit refreshed. Anybody needs to take a bio break, you can do so. Anybody needs a coffee, please feel free to grab your coffee or your tea as well. Cik Hasma, maybe we can reconvene in about 5 minutes. Let's give everyone a short break.
Okay.
So we will come back at 12:04.
Okay. At 12.
Okay. Perfect. Thank
Wait
you.
for 15 minutes.
Tapi jangan tengok yang kita punya siapa sekarang. Tengok graduan.
Oh, sorry, Cik Hasma. I just realized that I actually gave the wrong time. It'll be like 11:54. I kira salah just now. 5 minutes will be
5
11:54.
minutes or 50 minutes?
5.
5 minutes. Okay. So we shall break for 5 minutes.
See, this is why I need AI to help me calculate time.
It's okay.
right, welcome back everybody. I hope everyone had a quick bio break. And also if you managed to grab your tea or your coffee, that would be great. Let me know if it's okay for us to go to the second portion, which is more related to health research. Perfect. Thank you for the response. All right, let me share my screen and let's go to the second portion. Okay, I think my screen is up. You should be able to see impact of AI in health research. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the next section. Oops, there we go. All right. So when it comes to AI in research, especially for health research, we also have a report from Elsevier that we publish, and this is the researcher of the future. So clinician of the future focuses more on the practice section, so more towards practicing clinicians, whereas researcher of the future delves more into research and how researchers are finding challenges these days and where they see research, advancing in the future as well. So researchers do see AI as transformative to their work, and the adoption is accelerating rapidly. If you see on the left, the two charts there, 45% of researchers think that they have enough time for research. Almost everyone thinks that they have time for research, right? However, 68% of researchers actually feel the pressure to publish. And this is much higher than 2 to 3 years ago. Now, why is that? Because a lot of times you remember, if you don't publish the information, pretty much you can say that information doesn't exist in a way, right? If it's not published, if it is not peer reviewed and out there, meaning available for people to read and see, if you keep that information to yourself, it would be as if that information doesn't exist at all. That's why a lot of researchers hold on to the motto, right? Publish or die. So publication is very, very important, especially when it comes to research. One, because you want to share that information with your peers, your colleagues, either within Malaysia, within Southeast Asia, or globally as well, because there is relevant information and you should share that with your peers and your colleagues. But that also for you to be able to help advance medical research and medical information as well, because people will use your research and build upon it as well. So it's very important to publish. But because there are so many researchers out there nowadays, it's also a lot of researchers are feeling that pressure to publish fast, right? Because you want to be the first one to put that information out there. Otherwise, if you come in second, somebody would have done that research, you may have a similar information, then you're no longer the forefront of that research, and you may not even be able to publish if the information or the findings are too similar to an already published piece of information. That's why, again, literature review is also very, very important, right? You don't want to replicate any sort of research that has been done previously. So when we've asked researchers what do they feel when they use AI tools, about 58% of them now use AI tools in their work. And this has increased almost double from 2024. So this particular report, the Researcher of the Future report, was in 2025. We haven't yet published the 2026 version. That will usually come in about Q3, the second half of the year. So within 1 year itself, from 2024 to 2025, you see the use of AI tools, the adoption of AI tools has actually almost doubled. So we see a lot more researchers using AI tools in their work. Now, however, in contrast to that, 20% believe that they have adequate training in using AI. Now, remember again when ChatGPT was launched in 2022, when Claude came, when Perplexity came, nobody gave you a how to use this manual, right? Everybody had to sort of, okay, I have this tool now, I have to figure out how to use it. I have to figure out how to prompt effectively. I have to figure out what are the features that I can use. So a lot of the AI tools available may not have training involved, right? It's just there for you to use. So a lot of researchers do see that perhaps they are not maybe using it as effectively as they could because they haven't been trained on it. They've just been given the tool or they have access to the tool and that's it, right? They need to figure it out themselves. And also about 32% says their institution provides good AI governance. Now, we also have to remember at the very start, we did say that there is no one single definition for the term AI. There is no consensus, there's no fixed definition for the term AI, and it differs slightly from different institutions and different industries as well. So it is understandable that institutions don't necessarily have a set AI governance policy in place, because how do you govern something when you don't have the definitive definition of what that thing is? Okay, if we are not yet able to identify exactly what artificial intelligence is in a agreed and fixed definition, how do you then put in policies to govern AI? So it is understandable that the governance of AI is lacking currently by institutions, right? And that comes again from the rapid advancements of AI. So it is a little bit of a Wild West currently when it comes to governance of AI. Now, how is AI used in research? The top uses of AI in research is in finding and summarizing latest research. Okay, instead of you having to trawl through, 6-7 different journal sites to find what is the latest information, now there are AI tools to help you to then consolidate that information and curate that information as well. AI tools are also being used to perform literature review. Previously, when I was doing like my master's, when I was doing my final year thesis as well, basically I had to read all the different journal articles, all the different publications, and then do that literature review itself. It would have been helpful if I had a tool that can do a high-level summary and then I do deeper dive into it, right? At least a first pass. That would be very, very helpful last time when I was doing research. Okay? Analyze research data as well, especially if you have a large amount of data that you need to crunch. AI tools are indispensable when you need to analyze the research data that you have. We also see researchers using AI tools to draft grant proposals. So one of the very, very important things, especially for Malaysia as well, right? We are not as advanced in comparison to some of the Western countries where, foundations have a lot of money to put into research, right? That you can, or even government institutions like universities, or even private universities as well, there is always a limitation when it comes to budget. And everybody is trying to get that budget, so secure that for their own research, right? So it helps to make your proposal stand out from the rest. So we do see a lot of researchers using AI tools to draft their grant proposal to make it more convincing, to make it more, to make it stand out compared to others. And we also have to remember a lot of researchers may not come from English-speaking countries, right? For example, like I said, for Thailand or for Vietnam, which I also support, English is not their primary language. So they would then need to use AI tools if they were to draft a grant proposal to, let's say, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for example, right? That sort of evaluates proposals in English. That would be very helpful for them, because language shouldn't be a barrier to research in a way. So we do see these are the top users of AI in research. Now, when it comes to AI, particularly in medicine, so as I said, the advancements or the technological improvements for AI has been quite extensive. It's moving at a fast pace, and there is no actual one proper journal that actually sort of consolidates information specifically for AI in health or AI in medicine. That's where the Artificial in Medicine journal that is published by Elsevier, we are trying to help to curate that information in that space. And you can find this in Clinical Key. It's widely available, full text articles are available here. You can just go into Clinical Key, search under the journal tile for Artificial Intelligence in Medicine, and you will have complete access to that. We also see a lot of organizations and institutions trying to also assist to support in terms of the information in this space as well. So for example, there's a NICE guideline in 2024 when it comes to AI-derived software in terms of clinical decision making, specifically for stroke, right, or stroke management as well. So we have a lot of these different articles, and these are all available online that you can find from Clinical Key and read the full text as well. I will share this deck with Cik Hasmahane after the call, and she can distribute to the attendees today. So you will have access to all the links that I've provided here, as well as the source and the references as well. So feel free to explore the deck after today's session. Okay, some AI tools that we see being used in clinical trials and other research processes as well. So Medidata, AI Cure, Sightline, these are some of the free resources out there that you can use, especially when it comes to patient recruitment, patient management, especially if you're doing a large center sort of clinical trial where you need to then vet through in terms of patient inclusion, exclusion criteria, and then after that, randomizing them into different arms or depending on your study as well, right? So there are a lot of AI tools that you can make use of when it comes to patient recruitment, management, or even engagement as well. It also helps in data management. Again, if you have so many patients, if you have so many different arms, for example, for your trial, collating that data, gathering that data, and then analyzing it will require a lot of help that these AI tools can assist you with. So data management, data reconciliation, analysis, and prediction as well. Because potentially you may have one or two people in the trial that are outliers that perhaps you need to remove them so your data can be reconciled in a clearer manner as well. Okay. In research, one of the very, very first questions that we had to answer was whether or not ChatGPT can be a co-author. And the reason for this is, again, there are a lot of researchers that do not use English as their first language, English as their native language. So they do need assistance when it comes to drafting articles for publication, right? So we do see a lot of use of ChatGPT when it comes to the writing process. So I want to take like a 2-second pause here and let you just have a think whether or not you believe ChatGPT can be a co-author. Okay, now I want to show these two particular ones. So this is the Iraqi Journal for Computer Science and Mathematics. It was an open access publication. You see, again, because it's Iraqi, so English wasn't their first language, right? And they wanted to publish their research into this particular journal. So they had to publish in English. So they used ChatGPT in the writing process. And because they used ChatGPT, they wanted to be also transparent about it. So they put ChatGPT as a co-author. You see, Al-Janabi and Mijwil, and ChatGPT is the third author in this particular, in the first publication. In the second article, they were also talking about ChatGPT, and they cited ChatGPT as one of the co-authors of the publication. Now, this is a computer science and maths journal, but we also saw this nurse education in practice. I know most of the audience here is clinicians. If you have nurse colleagues, you would know that nurse education in practice is a very important journal in the nursing profession. So you see here, Siobhan O'Connor is the first author, and ChatGPT is the second author for this particular article. Open artificial intelligence platforms in nursing education, tools for academic progress or abuse. Okay, so in February of 2023, she had published this particular article. It was accepted for publication. It was already published, and ChatGPT was the second author. Now, not long after that, she had to publish a corrigendum to this particular author, and you will see on the right now, ChatGPT has been taken off as a co-author. There is only Siobhan O'Connor as the first and the sole author of this particular article. Okay. Now, why is that? Why did she have to take ChatGPT out? The reason that ChatGPT had to be taken out as an author is because it does not qualify for authorship based on Journal Guide for Authors and also Elsevier's publishing ethics policies. Now, when ChatGPT was made available and people started to use it, a lot of people started to cite ChatGPT as a co-author. And that sparked a conversation within the journals as well as the publishers on whether or not ChatGPT can be a co-author. And after a lot of discussion, it was determined that ChatGPT should not be an author. Okay, it doesn't qualify as an author. And part of the reason of that is when an author publishes an article, when they share the research in a publication, there is a certain ownership and responsibility for you as the author publishing this information. So when you publish an article, if anybody, say in Singapore, in Thailand, in Vietnam, would like to ask more about your research, your contact is there. They would reach out to you, and you as the author of the publication, you have that responsibility, that ownership of that study to respond to the queries that you get. So a lot of times, if anyone wanted to also to challenge your study, then they can reach out to you as an author. So imagine if ChatGPT was listed as a co-author, it's not possible for anybody to reach out to ChatGPT and say, hey, so you were listed as a co-author in this publication. I found in my own research that doesn't align. You cannot question ChatGPT. So ChatGPT doesn't have ownership. It doesn't have responsibility for the publication, even though you use ChatGPT as a tool for maybe in the writing process itself. So that's why it's highlighted in red here. Chatbots such as ChatGPT should not be listed as authors because they cannot be held responsible for the accuracy, integrity, and originality of the work, which is the responsibility of the author of the research and the publication. So This is the reason why ChatGPT is now no longer able to be listed as a co-author. That does not mean that you cannot use AI tools, and we will touch a little bit on that, on how you can use the AI tools, but then also provide the transparency that you have used these AI tools. Okay, so this is again a little bit more about this when it comes to some publications and the reasoning behind why AI tools are in terms of authorship, right? So you see the COPE position statement as well. It cannot be listed as an author of a paper, right? Because it's due to the accountability, responsibility, as well as transparency issues. Now, I want to move into a few of the AI tools that you can make use of when you are doing your research, as well as in the writing process of your papers for publication. Semantic Scholar is a free AI-powered research tool for scientific literature. So what it does is it searches all open access content. And again, this is going to be helpful for you in the initial stages when you are doing identifying the latest research or the research topics that you have, and also literature review. Okay, so Semantic Scholar is available for free for you to use. The other one is SciSpace and Notebook LM as well. Notebook LM is by Gemini and is using the latest Gemini models as well. So again, these are free to use. The basic tools at least are free. They may have plans that you can upgrade in terms of features, but even the free version itself is useful enough already for a researcher, especially if you are tight on budget and subscription is not really an avenue that you can explore currently. Okay, so SciSpace, Notebook LM, Semantic Scholar, these are some of the useful tools out there. This particular one, Research Rabbit, I find very useful, at least for myself, because I'm more of a visual person. So with the earlier tools that I showed, Semantic Scholar, Notebook LM, as well as SciSpace, it will search everything, basically. So it may provide you with research or articles that are related, maybe even distantly related, can be closely related or distantly related. The good thing about Research Rabbit is you can start off with a few seed articles. So if you have a particular topic or a type of research that you're looking to find related journal articles and studies, then you can use those as seed articles. You see here on the it would say here, okay, so you will have your seed articles, and then it will then have a neural mind map which will show you similar work, earlier work as well. Okay, and you can see here the connectivity, how close it is to the research, those seed research papers that you put in, and then how far away some of the other titles are. So this is a very helpful, like particular for me. I'm more of a visual person, so this is helpful for me in terms of identifying clusters of info of research. So Research Rabbit is one that I find is quite useful to use. Okay. In terms of literature review, ideation, as well as writing support, this is a very useful one. Jenny AI. It can generate a literature review in terms of to assist you in creating comprehensive, high quality literature reviews. So this helps as well when it comes to your writer's block, right? A lot of times we have the information in our head, but how do you articulate it into text? Jenny AI can be useful for you in that writing process. So it's very useful in the sense that you can then type out a paragraph and maybe use Jenny AI to say, clarify the messaging that I want to do here, or I want to highlight such and such outcome from my study. How do I rephrase or reword this paragraph to be more impactful, for example? So you can use Jenny AI to sort of polish up writing that you have when it comes to your article. Cite as well. This is in terms of the reference. You can use cite to then search by different titles, different authors, to enhance your research. Okay, you can also use Trinka as a journal finder as well. It's a free journal finder that you can use. And also, as you can see, there's a paraphrasing tool. There's also an AI content detector as well. So I noticed there was one question in terms of the chat when it comes to the use of AI, in this case for grants, but even for your writing, your actual article itself, they may use a AI detection tool. Okay, so that also will come into play when we mention later that there are certain disclaimers or certain statements that you can use to provide that transparency. Okay, and again, most of the time, use your own words, right? Use your own words, but use the AI tool to polish it, to make it either more convincing or to make the message clearer. But at the end of the day, the message should actually come from you because you are the author of it. Okay. Citations, very, very important as well when it comes to research, because there are different formats. And this is one stumbling block, especially for junior researchers or those who, for example, like myself, when I was doing my final year thesis and when I was doing my masters as well, I had one file that just was basically citations, right? And trying to get the formatting right and all. Use the AI tools to help you with that. And you have this, so MyBib is for free. You can see there are different styles. You can use by APA 6, APA 7, Harvard, MLA. You can then adjust the citation based using the tools here. Okay. Jamovi as well as Julius, these are also for data analysis. So if you have a large amount of data, and instead of having to sort of use Excel or trying to figure out the data yourself, do try out Jamovi and Julius. Okay, these are again free for you to use. I sometimes get the question, which one is the best, Stephanie? You're showing me, multiple different examples. Which would be the best? I would say it's very dependent on you as a user. So for example, like just now, I mentioned that Research Rabbit, I find it more useful for myself because I'm more of a visual person. That helps me understand the mapping better. That doesn't mean that Semantic Scholar, Site, all these are not useful. Some researchers find it better to use Semantic Scholar. It works better for the flow of how they work, how they function basically as a researcher. So I would say these are all available tools. Explore them. You will find the one that is most suitable for you to use, or the one that is that is more relevant to the research that you're doing or the data set that you have. Okay, don't box yourself in. Do try them out and find the one that's most useful for you. Okay. I touched on this a little bit just now, but I just want to highlight this very, very clearly, right? So you use AI tools, but you must always cross-check and validate the AI tool. Remember, I was saying that the message has to come from you. The voice of your grant proposal, the voice of your article has to be your voice as the researcher, okay? This is your baby, right? This is your research. This is your ownership, your responsibility. This is your baby. So your baby has to sound like you. If your baby doesn't sound like you, then it's not going to be that great, right? It's very difficult to tie the research to you as a researcher or you as a publisher. So it has to always represent your analysis, your opinion as the author. Okay, so use the tools, but use them as a support. At the end of the day, the message, the opinion, the voice of the writing has to be your voice. You should be able to shine out of that publication. Now, we shared a number of citation tools out there. So for example, Trinka, Scholarly, Cite AI, all these are available tools, but it's always also important to check, right? Again, this is an assistant in a way, right? Whatever you delegate that information, that AI tool to do, you still need to check that citation, because at the end of the day, you are the author, you are the owner and the responsible person for that publication. Okay. And again, I highlighted this even in the clinical practice session. AI should never replace critical thinking. Okay, most important, even if you use it to generate a convincing discussion, or the summary of your results or your abstract, at the end of the day, you have to look at it and say, I stand by this publication that I have. I stand by this this hypothesis or this opinion that I'm putting out there. Okay, so never let an AI tool replace your critical thinking. Everything that is generated, read it and think, is this the message that I want to convey out there? Is this aligned with the opinion and the hypothesis, or the my thinking as the publisher, as the researcher, as the clinician? Okay, so not only in publication, but even as a practicing clinician, when you get information from AI, you must always have that, that little spot in your mind to say, is this accurate? Is this correct information? Can I action on this information? Or if not, should I verify this for accuracy and trustability? Okay, so always remember, the tools are there as a support. They are tools, but at the end of the day, you are the person that is going to be treating the patient. You are the person who is going to be authoring and publishing this particular paper in the research space as well. Now, this is the portion that I wanted to mention. So if you do use AI tools when it comes to the writing process, you can put this statement in the body of your article. During the preparation of this work, the author used, for example, ChatGPT, or maybe something like Jenny AI, in order to, and the reason why you use this, for in order to clarify the representation of in the discussion format, for example, right? Or clarifying the message of the study that is being published here. Okay. After using this tool, the author reviewed and edited the content as needed and takes full responsibility for the content of the publication. So providing this statement upfront is also helpful for transparency. So that may also answer that question regarding the evaluation of a percentage of AI, right? So if you tell people in advance or upfront that, okay, I did use the tool, but I used it to fine-tune my messaging, or to paraphrase certain portions of my discussion, for example, then that shows that transparency, and it helps the evaluator understand as well how you use the tool, and that gives it a little bit more clarity on whether or not the tool was used in a I would hesitate to say correct, but in a relevant manner. Okay, so try to use this statement when you use AI tools. It's helpful for the person who is reading, the editor, the evaluator, to understand how you use the tools there, right? Rather than straight away saying, oh, this person used AI tools, I can't trust what they're writing, right? So do try to use the statement like this. One very important thing when it comes to AI tools, for images and videos, and this is across the board, a lot of journals and a lot of publishers as well, authors are not allowed to use AI tools to create or alter images and videos. Okay, so very important. In the text, to paraphrase, to consolidate your information, yes, that's perfectly fine. But do not use AI tools in the creation or alteration of images. So imagine if you're taking, cell slides, for example. You should never use an AI tool to alter that image. It should be as original to the images that you took as possible. Okay, so don't use AI tools for images. There's also this question of, and again, it comes to privacy and security as well. So on the hand of the writer, of the author, we tell you, try not to use AI tools here, try not to use AI tools there. But on our end as publishers and editors as well, so reviewers and editors are not permitted to use AI tools to review your manuscript. And the reason for that is, again, if, let's say, God forbid, one of the peer reviewers were to put your manuscript into ChatGPT, for example, again, we don't know what they use with that data. So that's a breach of confidentiality and proprietary rights, right? Because your manuscript is still being reviewed. It hasn't been published yet. So there's that question of intellectual property as well, and data privacy rights. So reviewers and editors are not permitted to use AI tools because of the privacy and the proprietary information that may be contained in that manuscript. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of reassurance as well when you submit your manuscript and you wonder, during the review process, how AI is being used in that process as well. Now, in Clinical Key, there are a multitude of publications as well that may help to give you some ideas of how to use AI in terms of research. So this is available full text within Clinical Key. So use of Gen AI in meta-analysis, so how to automate literature review and data extraction, using Gen AI in scientific publishing, in the Lancet and gastroenterology publications as well. Again, the links are there to the direct publications. Once you have the deck, you are free to explore the sources cited here. Now, I do know as well that one thing we highlighted at the start of the health research section was that researchers mentioned that they don't really get a lot of training, right, when it comes to AI tools. And Gen AI in health is also a very new topic. And a lot of the tools out there are for general use, right? So ChatGPT is a general use AI tool. But we do need to contextualize AI tools and AI information in health particularly. So at Elsevier, we are trying to help you understand what is Gen AI and what is Gen AI in the perspective of health, in the particular section of health. So we do have a free course. It's a self-paced course that you can do for free. And it's available online. The QR is here. You can join the Gen AI Academy. It's a very short, like 2-3 hour course in different modules that can help you understand generative AI, and specifically generative AI in medicine and in health. And that just gives you a clearer idea of what is Gen AI and how does that impact the health aspects as well. Okay, so you can collect CME points for this as well. So once you complete the course, you'll be able to claim CME points. Again, this is free. It's a self-paced course. You can do this at your leisure, right? So that brings me to the end of today's presentation. I wanted to also share my contact details. So my email address and my mobile number is available here. If you do have any questions regarding your Elsevier subscription, feel free to reach out to me or to your library team if you have any questions. And I would very much appreciate if you could give me a bit of feedback on today's session so that I can improve as well. And if you have interest for further sessions, I would then share this feedback with your library team. So perhaps we can have a continuation on some of the different other topics that we have for our health research development workshop. So for example, identifying the right journals for you to target in terms of like how do you then write a convincing manuscript. We do have other workshops related to that as well. So I do hope you can just help me do this short little feedback form. Thank you so much. And let me pass it back to Cik Hasma.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Tiffany, for that informative and engaging presentation. It's always inspiring to see how this resource can enhance our academic journey and make research much more efficient. So before we wrap up, let's take a few minutes for a Q&A session. I think at the chat box we have two questions, or you already answered it.
So I believe I answered Salizar's question. So when in terms of the grant proposal, and I do suggest putting that statement that I mentioned just now in terms of at least informing the evaluator of the AI tool that you use and how you used it. So that's a useful way to do so. I think I missed out Azriel's question. May I know the role of the library to support the academic staff or the supporting staff in this AI era? So librarians, you still have a very, very important role, okay? Your role is not easily replaced by AI, right? So as I said, the AI is there as a tool to sort of help collate information or summarize information, etc. But at the end of the day, what information is available, let's say in the library resource, like which journals you are subscribing to, which sort of resources that you have available to you. For example, subscriptions to different journals or different publishers, for example, a subscription to a clinical key from Elsevier. At the end of the day, the library team supports in identifying that and also maintaining the resources are there. Okay, so if your library team is not there to maintain the resources, if you don't have resource, even if you ask ChatGPT to find you that information, it's gonna come up either blank or it's gonna give you, information. Okay, refer to this journal, but then you look at it and then you have to pay. So there is definitely a role that the library plays in terms of specifically sort of like identifying, curating, and also maintaining the resources that you have available at the institution. And also during for research as well, right? I know a lot of, perhaps not at IIUM, but some of the different universities or teaching hospitals that I speak to, the clinicians really don't have time to do their own literature review. So they may request the help of the library to say, I'm trying to find this topic. Can you guide me in the right direction and all that? So definitely the library team has a very important role to play that is not so easily replaceable by AI. So Azriel, I hope that answered your question.
Okay, thank you. So I think that's all. I think the all question has been covered by our speaker and there are no more questions from the participant, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay, thank you once again, Ms. Tiffany, for sharing your expertise and insight with us today. And to all participants, thank you for joining and taking the time to learn together with us this morning. We truly hope this session has given you a better understanding of how AI can be integrated into healthcare settings to enhance clinical decision making, improve patient outcomes, and support research activity. A gentle reminder, can you fill in the I attend and the evaluation form that has been pasted in the chat box for the attendance and record purpose? Thank you to Ms. Tiffany and team. And all right, so we have come to the end of the session. With that, thank you so much to all participants and have a great day ahead, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Tiffany.
Thank you.
Thank you. Terima kasih semua. Have a wonderful lunch. Terima kasih.